It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
We have with us Karl Rove, you guys, also, who's joining us right now. Of course, the great former senior advisor to George W. Bush. Karl, your reaction to what you just heard.
I wonder if Karl liked that interview.
Yeah, what'd you think, Karl?
Well, I heard too little of it to really form an opinion, but you whetted my appetite.
Oh, well, you'll have to go to WABC Podcast and listen to the whole thing, Karl Rove, you know?
There we go. Now, Rita, will you be doing the introduction? Because that would be an extra incentive for me to listen.
I will definitely. If you're going to listen, I will be happy to do it, my friend. I love you, Karl. Karl, it's interesting because it does tee off to just a little bit ago. We heard from President Biden at the rally, and he was very nasty towards Trump. It was one of the nastiest I think I've seen him. And it was sort of the State of the Union Joe I used because it was the angry Joe again, after very different than the debate. But then at the end, he's like, we're essentially saying we're the party of unity. We're the party of kindness. We're the party of democracy. Everything's on the line. And you can vote for the other guy. But after what we just also shared, when you hear what a bunch of hogwash, you know?
Yeah, well, look, I love it. It isn't one of the essence of democracy that we have a constitution that lays out the roles of the various branches of government, and we divide the power in our government, our national government, between the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And here's the executive attempting to give away trillions of our dollars, hundreds of billions of our dollars in student loan forgiveness, which is the legislative responsibility. They're supposed to be the people who appropriate money, and this president has been slapped down several times by attempting to usurp the right of the Congress to write the budget and spend the money subject to his signature. He's been trying to say, I'm in charge of giving away hundreds of billions, over $1 trillion in student debt relief, and he's gotten slapped down by the courts. Now, talk about an anti-democratic move. It is to usurp the power of the legislative and take it all in the hands of the executive.
But Karl,
look,
those kids don't know the difference. Those kids are going to vote for Democrats to get their loan back.
Well, I'm not certain they can be easily so bought off because a lot of them don't have loans. A lot of them understand that when they took out a loan, it was a moral responsibility to repay it. There's a reason why Joe Biden's running, I think it's like 15 points behind among young voters where he was running 4 years ago, and I think this is one of it. People get insulted when you try and make them believe that they can be bought off for peanuts.
Well, you know what? I think also people are insulted when they hear Joe Biden on the stage just now where he's saying, democracy's on the line. And all I can think about, Karl Rove, is, as John was just describing, look what happened, all the lawfare against President Trump. Look at all the court cases that have been lodged against President Trump. And then you hear, obviously, we were just talking about the ex-husband. There's and then you hear Hunter Biden is sitting in intelligence briefings. I know that on Monday, Mike Turner is going to try to get to the bottom of that, if that's true or not. I would say that's a risk.
Well, look, I don't know whether he was or he wasn't, but I do know this. There's pretty solid evidence he was at the weekend at Camp David giving his father advice to stay in the race. Who is Hunter Biden to be giving advice? Here's the guy who had the bad judgment to trade on his father's name, getting into some sleazy, shady deals with bad operators in China. Here's a guy who had no experience in corporate governance, no experience in energy, no experience in the country of Ukraine, and he's getting paid $80,000 a month trading on his father's name, as the father is the sitting vice president of the United States in charge of a policy towards Ukrainian corruption. And when he went over there, when Vice President Biden went over to Ukraine in November, I think it was 2015, community groups involved in fighting corruption in Ukraine said, what are you doing lecturing us on this important issue when your son is part and parcel of it? And here's the guy who's already been found guilty of lying on his gun record while he was addicted, and is now going to face a trial for $1.4 million in unpaid taxes. And he is supposedly telling the president of the United States, "Hey, Dad, you got to run again." Who wants to depend on judgment like that?
Yeah, exactly. Ed Cox, you have a question for Karl Rove.
So, Karl, here the President Biden in his most stentorian voice. He is in it. He's going to win it. What does that tell you?
Well, look, his campaign's bleeding out in front of us. And, I mean, this is nothing new. First of all, remember, that speech in Wisconsin was off of a teleprompter. Please, don't tell me that he is back. I mean, a year ago, the polls were saying that 2/3 of the American people thought he lacked the mental stamina, the mental acuity, I think the question was, to serve effectively as president. And it's only gotten worse. And what they're essentially asking is, who are you going to believe, us or your lying eyes? And we all saw that in the debate. It was painful to watch. No American, Republican or Democrat, could look at that and say, God, I feel better about our country. And where in the leadership that in whose fate, who holds its fate in their hands.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Karl Rove, thank you very much. And I'll try to do the introduction so you can go to WABC Podcasts.
There we go. Thank you, Rita.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, Karl. Thank you.
This is Greg Kelly for Priority Gold. What does it mean to be America's precious metals dealer? It means that you're in touch with the hearts and minds of those who love this country, value our freedom, and want to protect the future. Priority Gold is that precious metals dealer. They've helped thousands of Americans back their retirement with solid gold and silver. Call Priority Gold at 888-506-6439. Receive free shipping, free storage, a free investment guide, and one of the best purchase experiences in the industry. Call now or go to PriorityGold.com.